Hello everyone, this is Royal Insider, and I am coming to you today with information that has genuinely shaken me to my core, information that I did not expect to see, did not want to believe, and yet cannot ignore because the documentation is real, the sources are credible, and the implications are enormous. What has surfaced in recent days, leaked quietly and deliberately from individuals with direct access to the Sussex household, paints a picture so stark and so troubling that it fundamentally alters how this entire saga must be understood. Prince Harry, the man who publicly severed ties with his family, his country, and the institution he once served, is not thriving, not liberated, not living some sun-soaked dream of freedom in California. He is trying, desperately and repeatedly, to find a way back. Before I go any further, I need to be clear about something. You need to subscribe right now, because what you are about to hear is not being reported accurately elsewhere, and in many cases it is not being reported at all. The material I am about to walk you through is detailed, corroborated, and explosive, and once you hear it in full, you will not be able to see this story the same way again. Let me take you back to what happened just 4 days ago, when a package arrived at a respected London law firm, delivered without a return address, containing copies of correspondence, internal photographs, financial documents, and what appears to be a personal journal covering a 14-month period. The delivery was anonymous, but multiple independent sources have since verified the authenticity of the contents, and I have personally been granted access to these materials. I have read every page, examined every image, cross-checked every claim, and what emerges is not gossip or speculation, but a coherent, deeply disturbing narrative. The first document I want to focus on is a handwritten letter dated November 22nd of last year. 2 separate handwriting experts have independently confirmed that the writing matches Prince Harry's hand. The letter is addressed to a former private secretary who served the late Queen Elizabeth, someone Harry trusted and respected for years. And I am going to read this carefully because the language matters. Harry writes, "I know I have no right to ask for your help after everything I've said and done, but I'm writing to you because I don't know who else to turn to. I made mistakes, terrible mistakes. I was angry and I was manipulated, and I let that anger destroy relationships that meant everything to me. I want to fix this. I want to come home, but every attempt I make is blocked. I feel like a prisoner in my own life." Read that last line again. I feel like a prisoner in my own life. These are not the words of a man who is fulfilled or empowered. These are the words of someone who has reached the horrifying realization that the choice he believed would save him has instead trapped him. A second letter dated December 14th was sent to an unnamed member of the royal household. In this correspondence, Harry describes his daily existence in alarming detail, explaining how his schedule is controlled down to the minute, how conversations are monitored, how calls are discouraged, how friendships are vetted, and how deviation from an approved narrative is met with hostility. He uses the phrase emotional blackmail 3 separate times. He writes, and this is a direct quote, "Whenever I suggest seeing old friends or spending time alone with my children without cameras present, I'm told I'm being selfish, that I'm jeopardizing our security, that I'm undermining our work. But it's not work, it's performance, and I'm tired of performing." Think about the irony of that statement. This is a man who left the royal family because he said he was exhausted by performance, by expectation, by living for public consumption. And now he is admitting that his new life is not only the same but more restrictive, more isolating, and more punitive, because at least within the royal family he had structure, support, and a clear role. Included in this leak are 19 photographs taken over an 8-month period, from April to November of last year. These were not taken by paparazzi or strangers, but by someone inside the household, someone who clearly felt compelled to document what they were seeing. The first photograph shows Harry alone in what appears to be a home office at 3:17 in the morning. He is seated at a desk, laptop open. And when the image is enlarged, you can clearly see a webpage titled "Royal Residences Available for Lease." Ask yourself why a man who claims to be settled and happy would be researching royal properties in the middle of the night. Another photograph shows Harry sitting on the edge of a bed, holding an ornate silver frame containing a photograph of himself and Prince William, both in military uniform, both smiling. Both still brothers. The expression on Harry's face is not nostalgic, It is devastated, the look of someone mourning something that feels irretrievably lost. Another image captures Harry pacing in a garden at 6:43 in the evening, shoulders hunched, one hand pressed to his forehead, clearly distressed. Metadata places the photo in late September. According to a source present at the time, Harry was on the phone with his father's office attempting once again to arrange a private meeting. The call lasted 41 minutes. When it ended, Harry reportedly threw his phone onto a table and said, "What's the point? They'll never let me speak to him alone." 5 additional photographs show luggage, not 1 or 2 bags but 5 full suitcases and 3 carry-ons, packed and positioned near an entryway. The timestamps span a 2-week period in late October. A former staff member, who has since
January
left the household
2026
and provided
did not
sworn
arrive
testimony,
with scandal so
states
much
that
as
Harry
with
packed those
resolution.
bags on 3 separate
What concluded
occasions
this month
intending
was
not
to
a
leave,
relationship, but
and
a
on all
prolonged
3
illusion
occasions he
that
was
the modern
persuaded
British
not
monarchy
to.
could indefinitely
According to
reconcile
this
family
witness,
fracture.
those conversations
with institutional
involved
survival.
tears, threats and
For
ultimatums.
years, the public was
including
encouraged to
explicit
believe
statements
that if Harry left,
reconciliation
he
between
would
the
never
Prince
see
of
his
Wales
children
and his
again.
brother
Remained
not
possible,
as a legal
even
determination,
inevitable.
but as an emotional
Palace language
weapon.
favoured patience and
That is
healing.
not partnership,
Silence was
that is
framed as
coercion.
discretion, distance
This
as
staff
temporary.
member worked in
Yet
the California
institutions do not
residence for
function like
22
families,
months,
and has submitted
They
a
operate on
47-page
limits,
sworn
incentives and
statement
risk
to a
management.
London legal
Prince
team.
William's recent
Every
moves,
word of which I have reviewed.
procedural, almost affectless,
They
signal
describe an
that those
environment
limits
in
have
which
now been
Harry's
reached.
autonomy was
This is not
steadily
exile or
dismantled.
rebuke.
Early on, he
It is
offered
more
ideas,
consequential than
opinions, and
either,
preferences.
an institutional decoupling.
Over time, those were
The
dismissed.
monarchy has ceased
overridden
treating the
or
Duke and
contradicted
Duchess of
publicly.
Sussex as a problem
The
to be
testimony
managed,
recounts
and
a
has
meeting in
instead
July
classified them
where
as
Harry
external to
suggested
the
stepping
system,
back from media
no longer
commitments
entitled
to
to its
spend more
protections,
time with his
privileges.
children.
The
The
response,
response,
according to the witness, was
that distinction
immediate and
matters.
aggressive,
Modern monarchies
telling
endure
him
not
that
through
contracts
romance
had been
but
through
through
coherence,
and that wanting
authority
to be a present
rests on
on
continuity
was not a valid
restraint,
reason
and
to
the separation
renegotiate
of public
obligations
grievance
from public duty.
Let that sink in.
For several
The
years,
witness also
the Sussex
describes
arrangement
repeated
blurred
attempts
that
by
line.
Harry to
Titles
contact
remained
family
while
members
functions
in the UK
disappeared.
that were discouraged
Royal
or
status
blocked.
was invoked even
In
as
one
royal
particularly
discipline was
damning
rejected.
episode,
Harry asked
the contradiction
to attend his
proved
father's birthday in
unsustainable,
November,
what
proposing
William
a
appears
short
to have
private
concluded
trip with no
correctly
publicity.
from an institutional
The
perspective
request was
is that
denied by his own
ambiguity had
household,
become corrosive,
citing security concerns
monarchy
that,
cannot be
according
half
to the
in and
witness,
half out
were never
without
formally
honoring both
assessed.
states.
The
We have
decision
also
bears
obtained
none
of
of
the
the
marks of
200
anger.
text messages
It is
exchanged between
administrative,
Harry and a
almost
close
bureaucratic
military
friend,
linked
between
quietly
August and
removed
January.
references allowed
In
to
August,
lapse
he writes,
responsibilities
I don't
not
recognize
reassigned.
my life
Silence
anymore.
deployed not as
I don't
punishment but
recognize
as policy.
myself. I thought I was making
Indifference,
a decision
not
for my
confrontation,
family. Now
has
I'm not
become
sure
the
whose
decisive
family I was
instrument.
thinking about.
For Prince Harry,
in
this
September,
marks
he
a
writes,
difficult
I miss my
reckoning.
brother every single
His
day.
narrative cast him
I
as
miss
a
my
moral
dad, I miss
corrective
my
to a
mates,
rigid
I miss home,
institution,
I miss who I used
trading
to be.
proximity to
In
power
October,
for
he admits,
authenticity.
I'm not allowed to say
But
this
moral
out loud,
critique
but I made a
loses
mistake.
force when it becomes a
A
product,
huge mistake,
and institutions
in December,
lose
he writes,
patience
if
when
I could go
internal
back, I would
dissent
do it all
becomes an
differently, but I
external
can't go
business
back,
model.
and I'm starting to think
The
I
grievance
can't go
was
forward
powerful
either,
because it came
that
from
is
within.
despair.
Once outside,
In
it becomes
January,
commentary
he writes
rather
that
than
he has
testimony.
drafted a letter to his
Access,
father
not
asking
anger,
for
confers
forgiveness.
relevance.
We can
For
confirm
Meghan
that
Markle,
a letter
the
was delivered to
consequences are
Clarence
structural
House
rather
on
than
January
personal.
9th.
Elite
Described
social
social
capital
capital
depends on
future
future
access,
access,
not
not
past
past
association.
The king was
Prestige is
reportedly moved, but
transactional,
cautious,
not sentimental.
burned by past
When the
experiences,
palace signals
and
that a
unsure whether
connection has
Harry
no
is acting
future
freely
utility,
or performing
markets
once again.
recalibrate.
Flight
Influence
records show
follows
7
proximity to
inquiries
power,
for one-way
and when
flights from
proximity
Los
vanishes,
Angeles to
attention
London between
migrates.
June and December.
What is
All
striking
linked to
is not
Harry's
severity
security
but
but
restraint.
None
There
were
has been
booked,
no
but the
condemnation,
intent is
no
unmistakable.
theatrical exile. The
Financial
monarchy has simply
documents
stopped
show that
organising
Harry
itself
quietly
around the
reactivated
Sussex
a
question.
dormant UK company.
In institutional
October,
terms,
for property
that is
investment.
final. William's
Legal
calculations reflect a
consultations
broader
were held
truth.
regarding
Systems
residency,
survive not by
taxation, and
absorbing
schooling
every
for
shock,
children
but by
in
deciding
Britain.
which shocks
Every
they will no
avenue
longer
was explored.
The obstacle
The
is
monarchy has
consent.
chosen coherence
Without
over
agreement from
catharsis,
both parents,
continuity
any
over
move would ignite a
conversation.
public
Family
custody battle
narratives
of
may
catastrophic
continue elsewhere,
proportions,
but the state
that
has
is the
moved on.
leverage, and that is why
This is
Harry
not
is
about
trapped.
villains or victims.
This is not
It is
simply
about the
difference
difference or
between
poor
personal
decisions.
narrative and
This is about
institutional
power,
logic,
control, and
family
the exploitation of
negotiate,
vulnerability.
institutions
Harry made
decide.
mistakes, serious ones,
And when they
he must
decide,
own
they
them.
rarely look back.
But
The
these
gates have not
documents
been
show a
slammed.
man who has
They have been
realized
locked
too
quietly
late
from the
that the life he
inside.
believed he
Silence
was
here
choosing
is not
is
avoidance,
not the life
it is
he is
governance.
living.
Reconciliation
remains after
threatens
the
the
noise
narrative
fades
is
and so it
precedent.
cannot be
the true
allowed.
currency of institutions
If this
that
were any
expect
other
to
man, we
outlast
would call this
generations.
coercive control. control, emotional abuse, isolation. But because it is Prince Harry we hesitate, we should not. He wants to go home and he is not being allowed to. Either he finds the strength to leave and endure the consequences, or he stays and disappears piece by piece. I have seen this before and it never ends well. The door is not closed, redemption is possible, but time is running out and every day he waits is another day deeper in the cage. That is the truth these documents reveal, whether we are ready to confront it or not.